Randy tells us.
All right, you're live, Madam Chair.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. So happy to see you all at our quarterly meeting. Before we begin, let me ask Toya to take a roll call.
He's here in the way. He's here on Zoom.
He's on the
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah.
Here.
Here.
Present.
Here. Here. Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Let me ask everyone in the room to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oops, sorry.
Hold on, we're getting it.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, well, welcome everybody here in Harrisburg and those joining online once again to our quarterly Board of Governors meeting. To begin with, let me introduce the newest members of our board. They were just confirmed 2 weeks ago and are attending their first meeting. So yes, very new and very, very welcome. First, let me introduce Dr. Quentin Bullock, who is president of the Community College of Allegheny County. And I believe you are on by Zoom and we're interrupting a very pre-planned vacation. So thank you for taking the time out to be in the meeting today. Rich Caruso, an alum of IUP, welcome once again. Dr. Brandon Dance, who was a trustee of the Millersville University Council. Also, our student governor, Sina Sharifi, welcome. We're so glad to see you here. And then Dr. Robert Trainum, who is a member of the Cheney University Council of Trustees. We really are so delighted with all these new people, fresh blood, fresh ideas. We've already heard from you. None of you are shy. So, please continue. That's how we have robust discussions and do our best in terms of governance and decision-making. After we add another new student member to the board later this morning, about half of our members will have been appointed within the last 18 months. And so again, this opportunity to hear new perspectives just sort of guarantees that we're going to keep moving forward as a board in terms of the health of how we carry out our own governance and fiduciary duties. And let me also welcome to the table two new presidents, although one is not that new and has been sitting in that section for a while, actually. First, then Dr. Lori Bernatsky, who just started her role as permanent president of Westchester University after doing just an amazing job as the interim president at Penn West. Thank you, Lori, for being here. And I do want to welcome a brand new president, Dr. John Anderson, who has just joined us as the new president of Penn West after holding leadership positions in Utah and in Georgia. And I had the pleasure of serving on the search committee that recruited you. So I'm particularly pleased to see you. Thank you for being here. And on behalf of the whole system, welcome to PASSHE. We've just started the new fiscal year, and we're about 6 weeks away from students arriving on campus. There is, I think, a little bit of work. I want to say maybe even a tiny bit of work, who knows, waiting to be done to finalize the Commonwealth's budget. So let me just say that on behalf of the board and behalf of the system, we are so thankful to the governor and to the General Assembly for efforts to invest in our state systems and to make higher education, especially public higher education in the Commonwealth, best and most effective that it can possibly be. So obviously, we're also thankful to our students, faculty, staff, trustees, our alumni, our union leaders, and others who are advocating for PASSHE. These are times that are exciting in the state system. We are feeling like we're moving forward. Our efforts to redesign have positioned us to face the challenges that other universities around the state and really around the country are just now tackling. I'll just add that a month ago, I spoke at the New England Higher Education Commission, their board meeting. Of course, that's the accrediting agency, the New England equivalent of our middle states. And they are tackling, like I said, the exact same problems. That's why they wanted to hear from somebody at PASSHE as to how our approach had been, particularly from the governance point of view. They're just in the thick of it. And I think that we are, to a certain extent, a little bit ahead of the curve, and that's because of all the work so many people that we have been putting into this and continue to put into this. And I just want to recognize the impact that that's had, of course, not only on students, but on our amazing faculty and staff. They have done so much to get through COVID and shifting expectations in the world and shifting views about the value of public higher education. And then the integrations, they're on top of it. They're doing an outstanding job, and our faculty and staff make us grateful for the places that our PASSHE universities are today and how they will continue to grow. So thank you, Tina. I'll thank you because you're right here. So with that, let me ask if there is public comment. And Randy, if you could.
So we do have a
moderate
number
that.
of public commenters, special guests with us today. So one at a time, in whatever order you prefer, just come up, state your name for the record, and share with us your thoughts. I think it's 3 minutes, I believe, per person.
The Congress agreed. Consequential
reliable flow of information, an absolutely essential step to stable democracy. They of information and the avalanche of misinformation that we are subjected to is overwhelming and can be destabilizing. So while good information remains vital, a vital component for a healthy democracy, we can't blindly rely on its truth or its utility. It's no longer enough for information to flow freely. We, as citizens, have to be able to decode it, to make sense of it, and then to apply it. Knowledge for its own sake is valuable, but as a society, we mostly and we rightly expect education to serve useful purposes. But I would argue that doesn't mean that we should look to higher ed solely with a vocational lens. And that's where you come in. This board makes decisions about curricular matters writ large. And while I haven't always agreed with them, I know that they are grounded in your best ideas about how to fulfill PASHE's mission to prepare our students for professional and personal success. I come before you today to implore you to impose a United States history requirement, 1 semester, 2 would be better, as a graduation requirement at all PASHE schools. Historical thinking plays a crucial role in public life. Everything has a history, and studying it brings context to current events. Context matters, but contexts also change over time. History gives us the tools that we need, not only to know the history, but to understand why it matters. And when we understand why and how things came to be, we can make better decisions about why and how to change them, if at all. More than just background, studying history gives us the habits of mind that are central to active citizenship. Please help us help our students step into their roles in our participatory democracy and make a U.S. history course a requirement for graduation. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. I very much appreciate those comments. Very thought-provoking. Randy?
A few more.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Jason Hilton. I'm the chapter president at Slippery Rock, and I'm a proud Edinburgh alum. So welcome. Yes. Today, what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about someone named Donald Campbell. Donald Campbell was a psychologist, a social scientist, and a founding contributor to modern research methodology. And Campbell posits Campbell's law, which states that the more any quantitative social indicator is used for social decision-making, the more subject it will be to corruption pressures, and the more apt it will be to distort and corrupt the social processes it is intended to monitor. In higher ed, we love data. We invented database decision-making. We are often called upon to generate the data that others use to make highly consequential decisions. But we need to be wary of single data points. We often become victims of exciting single indicators, especially if we invest too much in what we think that indicator can tell us. In education, everyone is selling a silver bullet solution based on some social indicator. Take, for example, the faculty to student ratio. This social indicator suggests that if we reach a certain ratio, we are near peak efficiency. But what are the unintended consequences if we put too much emphasis into this one indicator? At many institutions, we are hesitant to hire counselors because they don't have traditional teaching loads and thus hurt the ratio all PASHE schools are dependent upon. But the role these faculty play in the health of our students is hard to measure. And when the ultimate tragedy strikes for a student and a family on our campus, could an investment in additional counselors have made a difference? We can't know that for certain because that's an impact you cannot measure. But additional counselors would certainly alleviate the long waiting period for counseling services. And a student's family will always ask us if we did everything we could for their loved ones, and we should too. One impact you can measure, though, is revenue versus cost. At one PASHE institution, for instance, the ratio causes administration to assign overload to most faculty rather than hire temporary faculty. This is because the currently employed faculty member counts as just one faculty, even on overload, whereas hiring a much cheaper temporary faculty member would count as an additional faculty member for the ratio. The consequence is hundreds of thousands of dollars per year in additional costs to cover the classes that could have been covered instead with temporary faculty, but that would hurt the ratio. The high-stakes social indicator that governs many decisions in PASHE. So remember Campbell's law every time someone asks you to look at the data. The more you think one metric is a measure of any problem you're trying to solve, the more likely that measure will be distorted and corrupted and result in unintended consequences. Faculty to student ratios are a measure of efficiency, but not the only one. And this measure leaves far more meaningful consequences completely out of the equation. Thank you very much.
We have another one, another speaker.
Again, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm getting an education this morning. So keep it coming.
No pressure or anything. Feel like I should maybe have prepared a dance or a song or something. Good morning. My name is Kelly Bana, and I'm an associate professor in the psychology department at Millersville University, where I teach courses in my discipline, behavior analysis, think rats pressing levers for alcohol and sweetened condensed milk, and in research methods, statistics, and behavioral neuroscience. I've also had the privilege of serving on my local Meet and Discuss team for the past 7 years, currently as the immediate past president of our ABSCUF chapter, and previously, as the title would suggest, as our president. I'm also currently serving as the chair of our local agreements committee. In these roles, I have worked extensively with local management to construct new and modify existing local agreements, a collaboration which, of course, is mandated by the collective bargaining agreement. Historically, local management, has often sought our input on policies that technically do not require faculty input. I like to think that this is because they trust and rely on our subject matter expertise where relevant, and generally believe in the value of true shared governance. Approximately 6 months ago, I joined the state Meet and Discuss team because apparently I didn't already have enough meetings on my calendar. In that time, ABSCUF was asked to provide feedback on several board policies, some of which are on today's agenda. I did read most of it. It is very long. While we appreciated the opportunity to provide input, it did come near the end of the process, and our team felt like we weren't given enough time to provide adequate feedback, and that most of the feedback we provided wasn't fully considered and integrated into policy. What I would like to ask is that ABSCUF be brought into the policy process sooner, and that our input be more fully considered and integrated, especially when the policies impact teaching and learning, not because the system is required to do so. We acknowledge that it is not, but because we are more than teachers. First, we have relevant subject matter expertise in some disciplines. The system pays us relatively well to train future experts, so it only makes sense for the system to leverage that expertise to the benefit of the system and of our students. Second, as faculty, we are responsible for implementing many of these policies on the ground, so to speak. We are uniquely positioned to offer insight into how words on paper will play out in the real world, which will help identify both strengths and weaknesses ahead of time. Second, meaningful input provides a sense of ownership and investment in carrying out the mission of our universities, providing a high-quality education at the most affordable price possible. While faculty and management often find ourselves at odds in how to accomplish this goal, we cannot question the fact that we are united in working towards it. To the extent that we could keep that shared goal front of mind and work together while acknowledging and respecting our sometimes varied interests, we will better serve our primary constituency, our students, and more broadly, the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Our next speaker.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Eric Haverlack. I'm a professor of chemistry as well as the ABSCUF chapter president at Commonwealth Bloomsburg. I'm here today to ask, where's the accountability? Or to put it in terms that the faculty must deal with every semester, where's the assessment of the consolidation of Bloomsburg, Lock Haven, and Mansfield, as well as California, Clarion, and Edinburgh? I know that the chancellor likes to tell anyone that will listen that the consolidations are going great, but the truth is they're not. There are numerous issues, too many to list today, that need to be addressed. They're affecting our students and our ability, both the faculty and the staff, to do our daily work. It is the opinion of many of us that the system gave us a one-word plan, consolidate, and then walked away. The system needs to seriously assess the situation, and provide Commonwealth and Penn West the necessary resources to succeed. I hope that both PASHE personnel and board members will come to our campuses, talk to our faculty, talk to our staff, talk to our students, and assess the situation and provide those necessary resources in the very near future. Thank you.
Good morning. I think I'm bringing up the rear for our group here. Thanks for having us. My name is Kara Liskowski. I'm a professor and also department chair in the Department of Communication Studies at Shippensburg University. Morning, Charles. I was recently elected as vice president of APSCUF statewide. And the decision to both run for election and now having been elected, I've been frequently asked and had the opportunity to consider the questions about why I would take on this role. The answer probably, after listening to my colleagues, isn't going to come as a surprise, and it may echo many of the reasons why most of you are here today. I believe deeply in the mission of our system and in our students. There are other personal reasons as well. I'm a lifelong Pennsylvania resident. My parents are Millersville grads, as are my aunts and uncles. And I'm a proud fourth-generation union member. But in addition to those personal factors, I'm invested in our mission as a system and committed to our students' success. As my colleagues have noted, our system serves a unique and essential role in this Commonwealth. We prepare our students not only for workforce success and their professional lives, but we instill in them the skills that they need for good judgment, contributions to their communities, and lifelong personal satisfaction. This mission is all the more critical because of who our students are. They are first generation, they are Pell eligible, they are having a hard time staying awake in class, not because I'm all that boring, I hope, but because they picked up an extra shift overnight at a warehouse because they're paying for college. And so we do appreciate your efforts to keep those costs down for our students. Collectively, they deserve all of our best. And as vice president of APSCUF, I'm both grateful and proud to assert that it is our union that most directly, efficiently, and successfully allows all of us to meet our mission and serve our students, whether it is through the expertise that we can lend to policies and decisions about metrics, like curriculum, ratio, and so forth, that will shape better policies on the ground, leading to better outcomes, or by ensuring that our students' learning conditions, which of course are our faculty working conditions, optimize our collective success. I look forward to those efforts on behalf of APSCUF and the work of the board. Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who'd like to address the board? All right, Madam Chair, that
Okay.
ends public comment.
Thank you very much. We're going to do something a little bit different right now. We will, of course, get to comment by our union leaders and PACT. But before we do that, we actually have 7 people to honor this morning with resolutions for their service. And we'd like to start and do them throughout the session so that everybody gets an opportunity, you know, to hear about them and really take it in. So I'm going to begin to do that. And I have resolutions first to honor 2 outgoing members of our board. I'm going to start with a resolution for Derek Harshberger, who has been a wonderful member of the Board of Governors in one of the student slots. He recently took a staff position at Penn West, aligning with his professional goals. And so he no longer is serving on our board, but I have to say, you know, hopefully his service here and what he learned and what he was able to participate in had something to do with his decision to do that. So Randy, do you want me to go to the podium? I can do it here? Okay. All right.
All the honorees will be on Zoom, so you can just.
All right. All right, great. Okay. So here's the resolution for Derek. Whereas Derek Harshberger served as a member of the Board of Governors since 2022 during his time as a student at Penn West University. And whereas in his role, he provided a student's perspective, offering invaluable insights on critically important board actions, including university integrations at Penn West. And whereas Derek has well and faithfully completed his service to the board, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Governors proudly recognizes Derek Harshberger for his dedication to the state system and hereby honors his contributions to advancing the cause of public higher education in Pennsylvania. And by voice acclamation, I move approval of this resolution. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay. First, let me ask President Bernatsky if you would like to say a few words.
Absolutely. First of all, congratulations, Derek. I will say when Derek texted me about being a finalist for what he described as his dream job, when he obviously got, one of the real challenges was he said, I'm going to have to give up my seat on the Board of Governors if I get this job. And it was really important for him. So you can clearly get a sense of his passion for service. And the thing is, he was also the SGA president at Cal. So president there, Board of Governors, student trustee, both positions of tremendous influence. And the thing is, Derek did not use that influence to advance his own interests. He was a tireless advocate for students across the system and certainly for students at Cal. So that same passion and commitment to service, I know, Derek, you're going to bring to the students you're now serving at Cal. And so I know you'll be a tremendous support for them. So congratulations.
And Derek, I hope I didn't see you getting a little emotional there. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure, yeah. Hi everyone. I did accept a staff position at Penn West. I'm now the Assistant Director of Student Development and Engagement at Penn West, California. I'm super excited about the opportunity. I am a little emotional because it's like a full circle moment for me. This is literally what I wanted, and why I chose to switch my major my sophomore year to go into student affairs and higher education, and to learn more about our state system with PASHE and being on the Board of Governors. I've experienced so much and have so much knowledge, and I'm ready to give that all back to our students and put our students first, and let them know that they have so many experiences that they can have within our PASHE system, and that the journey is really theirs. And I'm excited to help them find their true passions and lead them to great victory, and what I like to say. But I can never thank each and every one of you enough. I've had so many different conversations and so much interest and knowledge learned, that I'm going to take and soar with my roles. And I hopefully one day will be sitting with you all. My end goal is going to be university president, and I'll get there one day. But I'm super, super, super excited about this opportunity now, and I cannot wait. But I want to give a huge thank you to Dr. Lori Bernatsky for always being by my side and helping me with everything, especially with our integration of Penn West. And I cannot wait to do the same with Dr. Anderson. So thank you all so much, and I hope to see you all soon.
Thank you, Derek. All right, let us now next honor Dan Klingerman, who recently completed his term on the board. And Dan, it's good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you as well.
Whereas Dan Klingerman, oh good. Whereas Dan Klingerman served as a member of the Board of Governors since 2022, having been appointed by Governor Tom Wolf, and whereas he provided valuable public sector insights on critically important board actions and strategy, including university integrations, and whereas Dan has well and faithfully completed his service to the board, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Governors proudly recognizes Dan Klingerman for his dedication to the state system and hereby honors his contributions to advancing the cause of public higher education in Pennsylvania. And by voice acclamation, I move approval of this resolution. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Excellent. Dan, thank you so much. I so enjoyed serving with you. You brought tremendous insights, your financial knowledge, your strategic capabilities, really helped advance our work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, I think we're going to now go back to our agenda, which would call for first comments from Dr. Mash.
Thank you. My name is Ken Mash. I'm the president of the Association of Pennsylvania State College and University Faculties, the union that represents the faculty and coaches at our system universities. I want to thank my colleagues who thoughtfully spoke during the public comment section. They are among the dozens and dozens of ABSCUF leaders across the Commonwealth who not just make our association work, but perhaps more importantly, make our universities work. They're crucial because they dedicate their time, their energy, their intelligence, and often their courage to both ABSCUF and to their universities. Our faculty and coaches are fortunate to have a wonderful staff that works with ABSCUF. But at its core, ABSCUF is a membership-driven organization. It could not function without countless members doing the heavy lifting, making policy decisions, implementing those decisions, and working with their administrations. And though it may at times be uncomfortable for our university provosts, deans, and other managers, it's also true that our universities would also not function without these people doing the work. And when I say that do the work, I don't mean just do the ABSCUF work. I mean that the very same people who work for ABSCUF and in their ABSCUF roles are quite often the very same people who are doing the bulk of the work, of the volunteer work for the university, serving on committees, giving tireless efforts to their students, being department chairs, and doing the crucial work of universities. They are faculty and coach leaders. Work for ABSCUF is never, ever, ever mutually exclusive also from the work with the universities. The work that is done by these leaders benefits smooth university operations, true shared governance, and smooth functioning of our universities. I don't think it's coincidental that universities that tend to have the best working relationships with ABSCUF also tend to function the best. And the reason's clear. Since the inception of our system and even before, ABSCUF has been the faculty. ABSCUF is our coaches. There is never a time I have stood before you, here or at a university, that I do not feel the presence of our thousands of members behind me, behind my back, and that they support what it is that we do. And that's why it's essential that ABSCUF be not just listened to, but heard. And they need to be heard by this board, by presidents, the system leadership, and all of the administrations. It's a voice that should not just be recognized, but it's one that should be respected. And involving ABSCUF in true decision-making should never just be a box that is checked by some minimal consultation. It should be viewed by all as a necessity. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for your patience in listening to my colleagues.
Thank you, Dr. Mash. And we didn't need patience listening to your call. They were fabulous. It was a pleasure. All right, let me now call on the president of SCUPA, Dr. Francis Cortez Funk.
On Zoom.
On Zoom. There we go.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Board of Governors. My name is Francis Cortez Funk, and I'm the current president of SCUPA. My term will conclude at the end of August, and I want to take this time to acknowledge the commonality that we all have in assisting students in living their dreams and finding their best selves in an ever-changing world which presents its own set of challenges. Those in the bargaining unit are the go-to people on campuses. Through their interactions with interested students, admissions, bringing them onto campus, provide inclusive learning and living environments, and supportive services, because these students experience the most magnificent transformational change in how to be productive individuals. We have to remember about the transformational change, because in our busy world of management and fiscal responsibility, we want to make them feel it's transformational, not transactional. Those in our bargaining unit have been working tirelessly to conclude an academic year, and now we're on full gear to get prepared for the incoming students. We are the professionals they come to see, and when life does not go smoothly, there are times I receive a phone call, a knock on my door, an email saying, "Can I meet with you?" And this happens not only for me in our interactions with the students, but for all the students. And our end goal is we provide the best services, we listen, we refer them to other places in order for them to graduate. There was a professor one time when I was in my young years of my undergraduate degree that I felt like an epic failure. I went to school in the 80s when there wasn't a lot of DEI initiatives. I didn't look like the rest of the campus. And I remember the most transformational change and advice that I've gotten from this professor. And I'll say his name out, Dr. Santoni. He sat there and listened to me really about everything. I just didn't feel like I belonged. The food was foreign, the environment was foreign. I didn't feel like I fit in, and I was challenged academically, coming from a family where English was a second language. But I remember he said, "Our institution accepted you because we believe in you, that you can cross that stage, you can graduate. But what's most important is that you believe in yourself." So for someone who was failing out their first semester, I ended up graduating on time. I embraced the opportunity. I was encouraged to speak to my family. So those are the things that keep us on board. Those are the things that I have enjoyed doing with students in the past, soon to be 18 years. What I do ask is, we realize that life is not going on so smoothly in higher ed, it's ever changing. But what I do have is an ask for this board is that if you have a question, invite us, let's have the conversation. If there's anything that you take away for these few moments as I speak with you, is that conversation is our gold currency in the changing environment we continue to experience in higher education. So if something you take away or you jot it down, and to remember that's our gold currency. And to also remember, as you make decisions going forward, is this providing transformational changes for students? In those 18, soon to be 18 years, I do have alums that call me and saying, "I'm on campus, can I come and see you?" I do hear them sharing about their professional jobs, not only share what they do, but who they are. So I want to thank the Board of Governors. I also want to thank, in my term, it was negotiations. I do want to acknowledge the diversity that was on our team that donated their time and endless expertise in regards to being part of the administrative functioning of the higher system. We're able to go smoothly. With gratitude, humility, and honor, it is my pleasure to represent these professionals throughout the system. Union is not a person. It's not a placard. It is the people that are in the union. And this is for the over 600 Kashi employed SCUPA members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, I want to honor two more outgoing members of our board now. First, Jan Yeomans, who has completed her term on the board. Jan has been just an outstanding, well, everybody I'm talking about has been an outstanding member of the board. We really have the best board. You know, Jan was always full of excellent questions, incisive, insightful, and incredible ability to analyze. Jan, this resolution is truly heartfelt. Whereas Jan Yeoman served as a member of the Board of Governors since 2018, having been appointed by Governor Tom Wolf. Whereas she served as the chair of the Audit, Risk, and Compliance Committee, as well as served on the Executive Committee, providing invaluable insights and critically important strategies related to system redesign, among other issues. Whereas Jan has well and faithfully completed her service to the board, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Governors proudly recognizes Jan Yeomans for her dedication to the state system and hereby honors her contributions to advancing the cause of public higher education in Pennsylvania. And by voice acclamation, I move approval of this resolution. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, terrific. Thank you, Jan. It's so nice to see you, and we wish you all the best and truly do honor your service. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for those overly kind words. And, you know, I recently had the opportunity to become friends with a young man who grew up in kind of a rough part of Baltimore. And he took it upon himself to give me a little street cred. So in Jaden's words, that was overboard. I really appreciate it. So, you know, I was just plain lucky. I was fortunate enough to join PASHE. My very first action was to vote on the appointment of some man from California called Dan Greenstein to be chancellor of the system. And the progress in the interim years has just been biblical. Dan has been a courageous and a very visionary leader. We had to design a system. We had to build a system of governance. We had to do some implementation. We had to build credibility. And Dan led it all. And it's been an absolute privilege to be among the travelers on that journey. Now I'm going to be cheering from the sidelines. And PASHE is going to evolve under your guidance, achieving ever greater student success and contributing to the economic development of the Commonwealth. Please, though, always keep in the forefront of your minds Dan's admonition to be bold and keep students at the center of everything you do. My very best to all of you, and thank you.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you.
And I now want to read a resolution in honor of Larry Skinner, who recently completed his term on the board. Another just outstanding member of the executive committee as well. And Larry, we just so much benefited from your wisdom. Whereas Larry Skinner served as a member of the Board of Governors since 2020, having been appointed by Governor Tom Wolf, whereas he led the University Success Committee, providing critically important guidance regarding major efforts such as the funding formula rewrite and university integrations. And whereas Larry has well and faithfully completed his service to the board, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Governors proudly recognizes Larry Skinner for his dedication to the state system and hereby honors his contributions to advancing the cause of public higher education in Pennsylvania. By voice acclamation, I move approval of this resolution. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay. Larry, so good to see you too.
So good to see you as well, and all my other colleagues. You know, I'm extremely thankful for the time that I spent on the Board of Governors. I had the opportunity to represent my beloved Cheney University while working with so many dedicated, intelligent, caring individuals that make up our Board of Governors. I am confident that under the leadership of Cindy and Dan, the board will continue to put students in our Commonwealth first, despite the many challenges that public education faces. It was a pleasure to work with distinguished public servants that realize that working together is not always easy, but the only way to ensure the success of future generations of our students. I've learned so much from so many, and I will always have fond memories of all that we accomplished during my tenure. Although I'm no longer on the board, I will continue to support you as a member of Cheney's Council of Trustees. Thanks again for allowing me to be part of the Pesci family.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, we now will hear from PAC President, Dr. Rich Burks on Zoom, who will speak on behalf of our trustees. Hi, Rich.
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, everyone. And thank you for the continued opportunity to join this meeting virtually. One would think that being retired, you would have control of your schedule, and last-minute commitments would not rear their pleasant or sometimes ugly heads. Unfortunately, that is not the case, and I appreciate the opportunity to join you virtually. Let me extend a warm welcome to our new and returning governors. We are excited to work with you as you set the course of the future for our system. And a special welcome to my Millersville colleague, Dr. Brandon Dantz, on his second appointment to the Board of Governors. Congratulations, Brandon. Looking forward to working with you. This has been an interesting summer for your university trustees as we balance our proactive and reactive responses to the items facing the system and our universities. PAC continues to focus on keeping our fellow trustees informed of these items and seeks input where appropriate. The quarterly BOG board meetings are very helpful as trustees are informed of the items that are to be considered by the board and provides an opportunity for us to ask questions. Thank you for those meetings. My periodic meetings with the Chancellor and Chairwoman and the monthly meetings with the PAC Executive Committee and Dr. Goen provides an opportunity to have a candid conversation about the system and the role of the trustees. As we reactively wait for the results of the budget negotiations and their implications on tuition and university allocations, let me assure you that many of the trustees have been proactively working with their legislators to secure an increase to the system that will secure another tuition freeze. We're keeping our fingers crossed. The current legislative discussion concerning the governor's blueprint for higher education and the Senate's Grow PA agenda continues to pique our interest. How will our universities be able to use this legislation coming from the discussion to bolster our university's success? Trustees are also keeping an eye on an additional enrollment practice being used by some of our Western private institutions, direct admissions, the process of recruiting students who have not even applied to their institution. Several of the institutions have announced success with this practice. What, if any, effect will this have on our universities? PAC remains committed to offer its services to the trustees at no cost to the universities. Presidents, this means no dues. To this end, we are working on an investment plan that will make this possible. Now, student trustees are the future of not only our universities, but also PAC. With the assistance of Millersville University Vice President for Student Affairs, Dr. Mary Beth Williams, we are planning our monthly meetings with these trustees at this time. This concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Terrific. Okay, we are now going to move to the consent agenda this morning. We're going to consider the items listed in the consent agenda, which you all have received. These items include meeting minutes, 3 routine policy actions, and committee assignments. And let me just add for the last one, committee assignments. We do have a lot of new members on the board. So this summer, we're going to assess all the committee assignments and, you know, obviously get your input also in terms of, you know, what you would like to be doing and work out the committees. And so we'll update that list in the months ahead. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed?
So moved.
Second? Thank you. Is there any discussion?
No hands on Zoom.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Okay, the consent agenda motion passes. Now let me next turn to our chancellor for his remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be brief and characteristically. Can I first of all thank our colleagues? We had more public comment today than I think I've had since I've been here as chancellor, and I really appreciate it so genuinely. So please come back and talk about all the subjects that, and if you want to organize meetings that concur with that's also good. So I really appreciate that. So thank you, everybody. So today I wanted to speak about just briefly. We've been obviously on this journey in this redesign, and obviously spent an awful lot of time on trying to stabilize things financially, and as you said this morning in your remarks, Madam Chair, in partnership with the state, which is without which we could not have achieved as much as we have, and obviously hope that will continue and look forward to that continuing. But in the meantime, we've also been working on another front, which is to really ensure that our work with our students is as current and as relevant today and tomorrow as it has been for so many years, over 130 odd, if our youngest university is the threshold. Through our faculty, through our staff, et cetera. So, and that's involved so many different sort of lines of attack. We've looked at the way we engage with our students in supporting them in financial aid advising, in how we work with them to retain them through various different stages of their careers, through health, and trying constantly to think about health and wellness and various student supports, to thinking always about our academic program array and how it is current and up to date. And we work obviously through our wonderful faculty and our staff to do that. From a very early stage, I remember standing up, it was actually across the hall when this was the Dixon Center and not under its current name. And it was my inaugural address, and I said something that the presidents, I think, were not too happy with at the time, but it was a vision of a redesigned system in which students anywhere should have access to courses and programs that existed anywhere across the state. And it really reflected, what I think at that stage I'd visited all of our universities and talked to hundreds and hundreds of people, including that many students, and saw the power of our great system and the extent of the intellectual resources and the instructional resources that are available to them. And it just occurred to me and to so many others who recommended these ideas, why shouldn't a student anywhere in the state have access to the best scholarly information and resource and educational opportunities that may be available anywhere? And so I said something to the effect of students anywhere should have access to programs and courses anywhere else. And that was just like this reflection of a kind of a groundswell of opinion that I had heard. And we started down this path. I think it was we met at Kutztown in 2019. It was before COVID. And we were looking at putting in place an infrastructure that would enable that to happen. And we went on this journey, and thank goodness our wonderful Chief Information Officer for the system, Rosa Lara, was there to shepherd us along the way. We started this journey, which has been going on now for more years than I'm sure you care to count. But as of last March, we have implemented a single student information system at 6 of our 10 universities, which actually has or is building the capability of achieving that objective, which is super exciting. And by next March, we will have that capability at all 10 of our universities. And so as this implementation, and Rose is going to speak to it, has been going on, we've also begun to work about, okay, how would we actually do that? We've been working with our faculty through our faculty council. We've been working through our academic administration. We've been working through our registrar, been working with our CIOs. We've been working with about every functional group that exists within our university system, because so many of our university staff, our employees, and our faculty are engaged, need to be engaged in that. And so we are on the cusp of being able to pull this off. This is super hard. I think that the technology piece, I'm going to say this, Rosen, you'll hate me. I think the technology implementation piece is actually easy by comparison. I tell you for a fact, it was not. But we're there and we are on the cusp of something which is genuinely exciting. And frankly, I think redounds to the competitiveness of the Pennsylvania state system, because there are very few institutions. We're told this by our vendor, and we're told this by others in the field. There are very few institutions that can actually even try what we're thinking about doing. And if you think about the value, not just for students who should be able to have access to any intellectual educational pursuit that they wish, but to our faculty who were then able to work with other experts in their fields who may have complementary skills and expertise to bring those together in creative new ways and creative new combinations programmatically. So it's a very exciting moment. We're not 100% there. So I don't want to overpromise. I don't want to oversell. I do want to shout out to hundreds, but probably thousands of people who've in some ways been swept up by this journey. And I also want to, I want to acknowledge the fact that this has not always been easy. There have been a lot of bumps in a lot of roads at a number of universities. Implementing a student information system is like the heart of a technology infrastructure at any university. And, this is kind of like it's like doing a heart transplant while the patient is sort of still alive, walking around and conducting their daily lives. So that was probably a gross analogy. I apologize, but that is in effect what implementing a new student information system does. And so a shout out to all the folks who've been involved. Rosa, I can't thank you enough for your leadership. You have calm, collected, engaged, obviously, with stakeholders across the system, with me, and most spectacularly with our vendor partner, with Solution. I've learned an incredible amount, as you know, from you. Rosa, if you don't already know, is tremendously effective at giving feedback directly, but with compassion. And it's amazing the results that she is able to accomplish. So anyway, Rosa is going to walk us through just a high-level overview of the OneSys, where we did the single student information system, which is a OneSys, where we are, where it's going, and then obviously, if there are any questions or issues, we're happy to take them up. So, Rosa.
Good, thank you, Dan. So as Dan mentioned, my name is Rosa Lara. I'm the Chief Information Officer here at the system, been at PASHI for a little over 5 years, and I'll give you an update on OneSys. I'm going to talk about the project, celebrate the major milestone that we've achieved, talk a little bit about the potential now that all of the institutions are moving to this platform, and then most importantly, really applaud all of the colleagues at the institutions that have done this tremendous work. So I'll start by explaining what the OneSys does. It's essentially a replacement of 14 disparate student information systems that was present at the campuses over to common platform in the cloud. When I describe ASSIST to folks that are not familiar with it, I say it's the heart of the campus. It's the nerve center. It manages students, courses, catalogs, student registration, financial aid, payment, transcripts, and everything in between. It provides interfaces to literally hundreds of other systems that students, faculty, and staff need to do their daily jobs. So if you look at this diagram, the sections that are in blue in the student life cycle is the scope of the system. So it supports students when they are admitted to the institution and all the sub-processes that follow when they're enrolled in a course or a program and everything that follows there, as well as when they graduate. It provides all of the reporting on institutional and system-wide data. And when I mentioned the third-party IT integrations that interface with it, I am literally talking about hundreds. We had about between 300 to 400 integrations across all of the institutions to systems like parking, dining, housing, and that's done intentionally so that faculty, staff, and students have a single pane of glass or a single interface to do what they have to do. You'll see that the prospect and the alumni phases of the life cycle we're not in the traditional scope. That's not just the campuses have other IT systems that support that, but that's wasn't part of the scope of this project. Next slide. So it took a very long time, as Dan mentioned, to get to this point. We started this in fall of 2019, where this board affirmed moving to a single student information system, and the project was named OneSys. We then formed a multi-university committee to write the procurement. We had to take a pause in early 2020 due to COVID, and were able to issue the RFP later that year. We spent 2021 evaluating vendors, selecting a vendor, doing a contract for all the universities to benefit from, and then we created a cohort model. So we took the 10 institutions and grouped them into one of 3 cohorts to essentially break up the work and make it a little more manageable. We started the project in January of 2022 and went live with our first cohort, the Integrating Universities, in spring of 2023. And then a few months ago, the second cohort has gone live on the platform. So we now have 6 institutions live, and we are hard at work working on our last and largest cohort that will be migrating to the platform early next year. Next slide, please. So what are some of the opportunities that being on this platform presents to us? And what I like to tell people is that it's hard to function like a state system when you're not on common IT systems. And I see this every day on this project. So the first Dan talked about is we are going to have the ability to enable program and course sharing, including degree and non-degree credentials, in a more automated and seamless manner. So certainly this is occurring today across all of the PASHE institutions, but it's a manual process. And there's some, it can be a little cumbersome to get all the approvals necessary to enable that. The other benefit that this platform has the potential to provide is to do program and course sharing with institutions outside of PASHE. They have to have the same technology solutions that we have, but it is technically possible. The second is that we, for the first time, will have near real-time data to data at the system level from the institutions. We get that data today, but there is a lag in receiving of that information. For the first time, it'll be near real time. It is going to provide opportunities to mine the data to identify and shore up loss points, to identify degree and non-degree pathways that support student choice, to identify innovations that are occurring at one institution that can potentially scale to another institution. So it's going to provide a richer data environment than we currently have. The third is this system provides a common user interface for all of all faculty, staff, and students at the institutions. Prior to OneSys, the schools had 14 disparate systems. They were different vendors. Within those vendors, there were different modules. So the concept of having faculty or staff working in a multi-university type of environment was there was going to be a learning curve in terms of training folks to work successfully in that environment. We sort of with this project have essentially moved away from having the haves and the have-nots, and for a variety of reasons that was the case. But now all of our institutions have access to a wide breadth of functionality that's continuing to be innovated upon because it's cloud enabled. And then the last 2 pieces are very exciting for me, and I see this every day on the project. We have various affinity groups at the technical level and then all of the functional areas that are reaching out to their counterparts at sister institutions when they're facing a problem. So, there's very likely someone at another institution that's encountered something. They can reach out, and we're seeing, things developed once and deployed multiple times. And it's a real powerful way to see systemness in action from registrars to financial aid directors. So in a very real sense, this project sort of is a live version of systemness across our institutions. Next slide, please. So I wanted to have one slide just to highlight how large this system is. It's a very big system. And these numbers just represent cohorts 1 and 2. So every institution has access to 28 modules that span the full student life cycle that I talked about earlier. When we think about the data that was migrated into the platform from those legacy systems, the earliest student, or rather the oldest student record was from 1919. So over 100 years just at one institution. When we think about the person records migrated, we have 4 million person records and then close to 8 million student records that were migrated. And then when we think about the courses that students were able to register for fall 2024, over 5,500 across, more than double that in the sections available for those courses. When we look at the enrollment that we have of about 82,000 students, about 50% of students have registered on the platform. We're going to have our largest cohort here with cohort 3. So we're just getting ready for all of that. So next slide, please. I want to spend a moment to talk about what makes this project so unique and why I am humbled. I'm the one speaking about this, but there are hundreds and hundreds of people that did all the hard work that are not in this room today. So the first is the scope and complexity. It is not just in my opinion, but in all of my colleagues at the institutions have said this is the largest and most complex IT transformation in the state system's history. And because of that, at the beginning, there was a little bit of apprehension in whether we could do this. There wasn't a long track record, and large scale transformations that are multi-year are very complex and are very prone to failure. So just that alone, the fact that we've gotten this far has been exciting for the colleagues that have been on this project. The second is the architecture. So we were one of the first in industry, and this is confirmed by the vendor and other institutions that I've spoken to at conferences. We have a unique architecture that we went to market to seek, which simultaneously supported a degree of systemness or commonality, while also supporting a degree of institutional uniqueness so that campuses could brand and could locally configure the platform to meet their needs. That was critical for us. And we were able to achieve that. It was very difficult. As Dan mentioned, some of the pain points on this project. And I don't want to say we're 100% there, but we're a good way there. The third is shared governance. There's a fair degree of shared governance on this project because of those components that are the same or common. So it requires a fair degree of scaffolding, governance, shared decision-making, collaboration across a number of affinity groups that all have to sort of align and work in tandem. And in that way, it's been really nice to see the institutions come together and think in terms of what's best for the system. And so it's another example where systemness just plays itself over and over again. And then the last thing that made this project very unique is that we had 6 institutions integrating to 2 while we were implementing, and quite literally flying the plane while we were building it. What I tell people, it's like when you have 2 airplanes and one is trying to fuel the other, and they both have to be sort of completely aligned. Very, very intense meetings and hard work went into all of that. Next slide, please. All of this to say that it has taken a tremendous village to get to this point, and before I get there, it has taken a tremendous village to get to this point. And as I'm very humbled and to be up here speaking on behalf of so many who did so much work, more work than I did. And I'm going to take a moment and sort of walk through what it took to get to this point. I won't be able to read every name because there were so many people, but it has been a challenge, and I'm really proud of the work that the institutions did. So first, I will say that this project involved every single functional unit on the campus. Every major department was engaged in their local implementation, ensuring that project activities, data migration, quality assurance were completed. Every institution had to define their own local governance scaffolding to make sure that stakeholders, you can go back one slide, back to Penn West, Randy, to make sure that all of the proper decision-making structures and escalation paths were there. And as part of this, every institution identified a campus functional and technical lead, which were responsible for that local implementation. And for this, I want to say tremendous thank you. Next slide, please. Second, staff on this project also had a day job. So they were working on this project while also maintaining campus operations. They worked nights and weekends. They worked tirelessly during the implementation. They did this to make sure that the new platform was smooth for students. And the other thing about these kinds of projects is that it has to follow the academic year. So the timeline is precise and prescriptive. So if a milestone was missed, it's not a delay of a week or two. We had to wait an entire year to basically start the implementation again, which obviously had a fair amount of stress for folks. I witnessed many staff come in well before the start of the workday to ensure proper validation was done prior to students, faculty and staff coming in or working on nights and weekends or holidays to do what was necessary. And for this, we say thank you. Next slide, please. Third, because of how the implementation was structured, institutions had to maintain their legacy systems at the same time as they were migrating to this platform. So, and that was intentional because the students that were in the legacy system had to sort of finish out the academic cycle before migrating folks to the new system. So this meant that staff had to be trained on the new system while also keeping their legacy systems operational. When they were learning the new system, in some cases, it was entirely new languages, new ecosystems that they had to become familiar with while they were orchestrating both in a way that was seamless to students. And for this, I say thank you. Next slide, please. Fourth, the project represented a real opportunity to re-engineer business processes that in some cases were decades old. But the really neat part of this is that in my interaction with colleagues, there was a willingness and an openness to think differently, understanding that the industry had changed, that there were best practices that could be adopted, and that also that there would be, this would be a once in a career opportunity to do something like this. In doing so, institutions relied on their sister institutions to get lessons learned or best practices. And for this, I say thank you. Fifth, while the vendor did provide a project plan and approach to implement the project, it did not factor all of the local processes, technology, and localisms that needed to be addressed as part of the migration. There was no single rubric that could be defined for that because it was local. So each institution had to have an additional project plan to address those local items that would essentially address those localizations and minimize risk to the extent possible. And for that, I say thank you. Next slide. Sixth, institutions had to consider how to implement effective organizational change management. So they were very creative in thinking about ways to manage the change on campus, from newsletters to training sessions, to creative ways to engage students, to establishing one-stop shops or centers where students could go if they had questions on the day of registration. Next slide, please. And in doing so, they did it with a student-first approach. And I can't tell you how many institutions made that the priority whenever there was an inflection point in the project. They sort of took a step back and made sure that they stretched their teams and the vendor to make sure that that happened. And then the last slide, I do want to give a special call out to Indiana University, who served as the central administration for this project. They played a critical role that manages all of the central system components and all the shared maintenance and all the organization and orchestration across all of the stakeholder groups. So in total, by my count, we had just on the state system side, 320 colleagues working on this project, not counting the hundreds and hundreds of colleagues at the vendor side. So a tremendous, tremendous thank you. And I know I spent a little more time, but I wanted to give you all a sense of how complex this project was. I want to thank the Board of Governors for their bold leadership to affirm moving in this direction. And I want to do a special thank you to the Chancellor and the Presidents for their unwavering support during this implementation that had many bumps along the way. We had a number of meetings where we had to escalate issues to them, and they were just amazing in their support of making this a successful project. Thank you all, and I will take any questions.
So Rosa, I'm just going to start off by saying, I'm so excited about this. I mean, I see this as truly giving us the infrastructure, the tools, whatever, to really talk about systemness. I strongly encourage, obviously, all of our universities to be using this to the extent possible. This is where we can really start to come together to serve our students in the most impactful way possible. You know, truly make it seem like we are one moving forward together in the interests and the best interests of our students. This is really putting students at the center. So yes, we managed to do what was necessary in terms of restructuring and integrating institutions. But honestly, I feel like this is one of the biggest accomplishments since I've been here. I mean, this is like, to me, this is really it. So thank you, thank you, thank you for the incredible work you've done. Thank you to your team. Thank you to everybody at the universities, obviously worked so hard on this, and let's just keep moving forward and complete the implementation and then use it.
Thank you.
Can I just one shout out? Did you want to say something? Put your hand up. Just, I just wanted to, Rosa, when we have, what was you said, like 4 bazillion student records or something, and we also have machine learning capability. And so when you put together 4 bazillion student records and machine learning capability, you can learn a tremendous amount about student journeys, right? I mean, you can learn where students are most likely to struggle, to stop out, and you can begin to assess ways in the data to stop that from happening. And we will have access probably to more data than anybody outside the vendor community, just because of the scale of our system and the number of years worth of data that we have. It just, even beyond the programming course sharing, this is a tremendous opportunity just to understand students and how they learn and how they progress and how we can help them progress better. It's just, and I know my colleague, Natalie Cartwright, is just already throwing all sorts of tools at the opportunity. So we're super excited. So thank you, Rose, and your team. Sorry, Katie.
No, thank you. I just wanted to echo thanks. This is a huge undertaking and is really foundational for the system to be able to grow. So thank you for all the work that you've done and everybody else on the teams. And I know that you and I have spoken, and I've also spoken with Natalie too, who's also done a really great job. And just wanted to, make it known that I think once this is all up and running next spring, it would be great to, come back together and assess ways that we can support students with it. One of the things that we've talked about is, linking any of that data, understanding there are probably challenges to doing so, but, thinking about ways to link the information to the Department of Human Services to see if a student is eligible for Medicaid, or if they don't have insurance, can it be sent to the state-based exchange, or food stamps, housing. There are a lot of applications that I think this opens a lot of doors, and is definitely worth a conversation with the board when all of the universities are onboarded about how we can best serve students with the information that we have. So thank you again. This is really, really huge and a very exciting time. So thanks to everyone.
Yeah, and Sam. Tina and Sam.
Just want to echo my thanks, Rosa, as somebody who got a chance to really get to know the program this year during first year scheduling for our incoming students. And related to this is the Faculty Council's design challenge, and course sharing is new and innovative, and you're part of that. And when we first started talking about course sharing, there was a lot of pushback, right? How is this going to work? Both from my ABSCUF colleagues as well as my own Westchester colleagues. And as someone who's trying to work with this, it's trying to instill that there is possibility in this. And that, I think, is one of the exciting things of OneSys. And I just want to follow Rosa's leave in giving a thanks to Alan Dietrich Ward from Shippensburg, who's been chairing our subcommittee on the design challenge. And I also want to just share that we had two Zoom info sessions, if you will, for faculty to jump in and ask their questions before they started writing their proposals this summer. And I'm happy to share that we had faculty representation from every campus across the system. And as a result of those two Zoom sessions, we also saw not only were questions asked, but we had ideas and connections that were generated right there on the Zoom call. So I can remember the first time the chancellor came to Westchester University and he had this idea, and I stood up and I was like, what are you talking about? And you know, how far it's come that we're now getting to a place where we're actually thinking about, okay, we had an idea, how do we implement it? And that is the focus of really my second term as faculty council chair and liaison to the board, is seeing these proposals actually get submitted and then come to fruition and then work across the system to figure out how do we actually make all this happen. And so I appreciate that, you know, faculty leadership is part of this whole redesign and this whole One SIS implementation. And just really appreciative of the work that you've done and the ability for faculty to really be innovative at this time where we're considering what is the future of higher ed. And really, I think the one stat that stood out to me is that only half of the students have registered, but I think that data also allows us to see how our students are changing, in that when we release schedules back in March, April, a lot of our current students and future students can't plan that far ahead of what their life is going to look like in August. And so I think that this is going to also have some future implications on how we set dates and deadlines within our universities to really be responsive to students. Not that students should change behavior to fit into our university policy and deadlines, but really that we are responding to what students need to fit higher ed into their very busy lives. And so thank you, and thanks for being innovative and challenging us to really all think outside the box.
So I'm not really a pessimistic person, but the system office, going back years and years, has like a bad track record of doing these kind of things. So I'm going to ask you a totally unfair question, put you right on the spot. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is a total disaster and 10's perfect, what's your level of confidence that, you know, that this is all, that those people that sit over on that side of the room typically are all going to be happy?
At the end of this,
Yes. What's your level of confidence?
I'm going to say 8.
Okay.
8. And I'll tell you why.
I know you can't please them all. I get that, but
I'll tell you. I'll tell you why. So this was tried before.
Yeah.
Many years ago. I
Yeah.
wasn't here, and it failed.
miserably.
Yes. And we spent a lot of time on understanding why that was. And we intentionally did everything opposite of what was done at that time. So when it was tried before, it was a very top down. Everyone will do everything the same. Every single business process will be identical. And it didn't account for the local customizations and the uniqueness on the campuses. This architecture, it only has a very small layer that's the same. For the most part, the campuses are locally administering and managing their platforms. So the analogy I give people is that this is like an apartment complex where there's shared plumbing. So there's care and feeding to the shared plumbing, to the common entryway and the foyer and such. But every university has their own apartment. Some have 2 bedrooms, some have 3. They can paint it whatever color they want. And so that we were the first to go to market with that kind of architecture. And if a vendor was not able to meet that approach, this was not going to work.
It's funny, was when you had that up on the slide, when you referenced the architecture and you described it briefly in the presentation, I thought, wow, that's almost like an oxymoron here, you know, like we're almost two different things. We're very much the same, but we're all one system.
We're supporting both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's-
we're supporting both. So we're on a
Okay.
in an apartment complex, we share the plumbing. The plumbing has to get maintained. We've got to agree to when that happens and such. But to a high degree, the schools still are locally administering their own apartments.
Okay, thank you for your candid response. I like an 8. I'm okay with it. Like I said, you know, I know some of those people.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great presentation, really exciting. Let me do honor a couple more people who have given incredible service to our system and have retired actually. So let me first honor Donna Wilson, who recently retired from her role as Vice Chancellor and Chief Academic Officer for the system. I've known Donna for a while. She actually served on the search committee that ended up recruiting Dan, and was just terrific on that committee, as she's been in every role and everything that she has done throughout her career with the system. So Donna, just a personal thank you and fond memory of working with you on a lot of important things. So let me read your resolution. Whereas Dr. Donna Wilson began her service to Pennsylvania's state system of higher education in 2012 as provost and executive vice president of Lock Haven University and served as its interim president in 2018. And whereas in her role of vice chancellor since 2019, she provided valuable leadership in academic and student affairs, including the creation of the system level faculty council. And whereas Donna ably provided consistent counsel and thought partnership at the system level during a time of system redesign, therefore be it resolved, the Board of Governors proudly recognizes the accomplishments of Dr. Donna Wilson and extends sincere appreciation for her contributions to the university and the state system. And by voice acclamation, I move approval of this resolution. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Donna, let me ask you if you would like to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you for those kind words. A lot of people will ask you in your first week of retirement how it feels. And I will tell you what I have felt over the last week is an almost overwhelming sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the opportunities and challenges that have been presented by a pretty long career in higher education. It is meaningful work, it's challenging work, it's hard work, but it's life-changing work for so many very important people. And those very important people are the students and their families in Pennsylvania who need nothing more than the opportunity that an institution like the state system provides for them. So many, many thanks to Dan for giving me a seat at the table, for the opportunity to work with the extremely talented team that he has put together, and to work with a board that really leans into leadership. This has been a great privilege. And I also understand that I'm privileged to be able to retire and to look back on a great career and to look forward to a lot of opportunities doing things that like higher ed did for many years, give me joy. So thank you, and I wish you all the best.
Dan, would you like to say a few words?
I was just, first of all, thank you. And I was going to say, you know, Donna, this is only your 11th day and you're looking completely relaxed. So congratulations. Yeah, we will miss you. I don't know how much of the last presentation that you heard, but it was on the update on the OneSys. And I know you traveled on along that journey as so many others. And we are so much better off because of the work that you have done, both at the university and at the system level. You will be missed. Do not change your cell phone, please. If you do, at least can you send us a number so that we can be in touch with you, and wish you all the best. And thank you for everything you've done for us.
Thank you, Donna. And then we will go on to yet another resolution for a giant of the system who is retired, and that would be Chris Ferrantino. I'm delighted to offer this honor to Chris, who recently retired from his role as president of Westchester University. Like Donna, our association goes way back too, Chris. I think I was chair when you were appointed as president of Westchester. And I've just always admired your intelligence and your capability and your humanity. And you've been helpful in so many different roles to the system, in addition to the way you have led Westchester University. So I'm just delighted to read this resolution in your honor. Whereas Dr. Chris Ferrantino began his service to Westchester University and Pennsylvania's state system of higher education in 1983, most recently serving as president of Westchester University since 2016. And whereas in his successive roles as faculty member, dean, vice president, and president, Dr. Ferrantino has embodied Westchester's mission to serve the community through seeking, learning, sharing knowledge. And whereas Dr. Ferrantino ably guided the university through a global pandemic that upended all of higher education and provided wise counsel and thought partnership at the system level during a time of system redesign, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Governors proudly recognizes the accomplishments of Dr. Chris Ferrantino and hereby names him President Emeritus of Westchester University in appreciation for his contributions to the university and to the state system. And by voice acclamation, I move approval of this resolution. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful. I'm going to call on a couple people to say a few words and then call on Chris. But Dr. Mike Driscoll, would you like to make some comments?
I would love to make some comments. So I've been
waiting all week.
I've been asked to say just a few words about Dr. Ferrantino on behalf of the presidents. And I decided to share just a small sampling of what Chris's colleagues said about him as they reflected on Chris's time at Westchester, particularly his time as president. Chris exemplifies what it means to be a true leader in higher education. Chris has been a gift to Westchester University, to the state system, and to his colleague presidents. He leaves a deep and impactful legacy at all of these levels, of which he should be proud and for which we should all be thankful. In addition to his broad and deep understanding of all aspects of leading a university, Chris has shown an unwavering commitment to integrity and character. His decisions are grounded in a deep sense of fairness and genuine concern for the well-being of all of the universities in the state system and for the students we all serve. Chris brings professionalism, camaraderie, and a wicked sense of humor to our shared work, characteristics that have been increasingly important in these very challenging times for public higher education in Pennsylvania and across the country. Chris has been a remarkable mentor and friend. And reminding you that I'm still channeling the comments of colleagues, I think it is important to note that Chris has been able to consistently bring all of these things to our shared work in spite of living with the severe handicap of being an economist. I did not make that up. Chris, we are all thankful that we've been able to work with you and count you as a friend. We wish you the absolute best future, and I remind you that you should always do what Sue tells you. Be well, Chris.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks very much. Chris, you are also looking very relaxed 11 days into your retirement. I'm actually sitting here thinking, because I know you're doing this, and what problem is Chris trying to solve right now? Because there's always one that's out there capturing your imagination. Just to build a little bit on what Mike has said, Chris has really been a stalwart supporter and thought partner, frankly, in thinking about the system. And he is ineffably curious. He brings his economist perspective to bear on the challenges that he sets himself, the tasks that he sets himself. But that curiosity has benefited us in any number of different ways. It's benefited our students in any number of different ways. It's benefited me personally, frankly. I quote Chris often because I think he told me some years ago that it's actually a good economic strategy to lose less money, which I think has been a very profoundly impactful sort of a piece of advice. But he's also, everything he does, he puts our student first. I had a wonderful testimony to his leadership at Westchester, but it also reflects his leadership at the state system, at the system level, to the Moonshot project that is being conducted at EAB, which is really trying to lift all student votes to improve success of all students, irrespective of zip code of background. And the project has been, according to the leadership at EAB, tremendously successful. In ways I think that they themselves are find remarkable. And that is, I think, entirely a testimony to obviously the passion of the staff and faculty at Westchester who are engaged in the project, but Chris's leadership for taking it on. It was not an inexpensive venture. It was not an unrisky venture. And yet it offered enormous potential for the students at Westchester. And we benefit from the experimentation and the successes that you have at Westchester because you bring those insights to bear in the system work. I will miss you personally, Chris. I know you're not changing your cell phone number. If you do, I'm going to come down to Westchester and dig you out. So I look forward to that continued dialogue. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you've done for us and for Westchester and the system. Thank you, Chris.
And Chris, finally, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, I would. Thank you. Thank you for all those comments. I have some thank yous. I thought I could get through them, but after hearing this, I can't say I won't become emotional, but thank you all very much. Chair Shapiro, I thank you for entrusting me with the presidency of Westchester University. Thank you to the Board of Governors, the Westchester Council of Trustees, the Chancellor's staff for the work they do. The volunteer efforts of the Board of Governors and the trustees is really amazing, providing leadership support for us. To my colleague presidents, the extent of our collaboration and development of friendships was the biggest and most pleasant surprise of my presidency. Thank you to the faculty, staff, and administrators of Westchester University who understand and stay true to the mission. To the WCU leadership team, you did all the hard work. I got the credit. Thank you. Thank you to the WCU union leadership for successfully balancing advocacy for your members with the interests of our students. Ken Mash, I have great respect for your passionate advocacy for the interests of PASHE faculty. It has been a privilege to lock horns with you, sir. Dan Greenstein, it has been an honor to work for and with you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, we'll let you go, Chris, before you have a complete breakdown.
I did better than I thought. Thank you, Cindy.
Okay, at this point, we're going to take a very quick 5-minute break. We will come back. We will honor one more governor and then get through the rest of our business on the agenda. All right, so 5 minutes. Randy, you want to do your famous clock?
The clock, we'll try.
Yeah. Figured it out. What's your second run? So and he was a tongue in cheek second appointment. Yeah. That was my undergraduate. Oh, that's small world. Just you a doctor? Man, yeah. Oh, that turned me well. Yeah. Thank you very much. Utah. Yeah, that's right. I was there for about 4 years. And before that, I was. Oh, that's right, Georgia. Too. Oh, but you were there? Yeah. I was the emergency. You were the provost of Little Cages State. Okay. Which is really another word. And how's it going? Because you know, it takes about 10 years to truly know. Well, it's really interesting. Studying the data, both of those institutions. And when they merge, when actually. I got there and the big involvement. A lot of hope. Yeah. They're about what they were around. And the thing culturally, it's been accepted and it's normalized and it's or kind of. There were yeah. So when I was at West Georgia, you kept hearing about West Georgia. So these mergers, yeah, in iteration, in 3 generations. Yeah, 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 yeah. We're positioned. Hey guys.
I am reconvening. Thank you all very much. We have another resolution to honor Skylar Walder, who recently graduated from Shippensburg and is now at Clemson University for graduate school. So Skylar, it's so nice to see you. I've so enjoyed serving with you. You were just so smart and so sharp and added so much to a lot of very important discussions that took place while you were on the board. And I'm delighted to read this resolution in your honor. Whereas Skylar Walder served as a member of the Board of Governors since 2021 during her time as an undergraduate student at Shippensburg University. And whereas in her role, she provided a student's perspective, offering invaluable insights on critically important board actions and system strategy. And whereas Skylar has graduated from Shippensburg University and has well and faithfully completed her service to the board, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Governors proudly recognizes Skylar Walder for her dedication to the state system and hereby honors her contributions to advancing the cause of public higher education in Pennsylvania. And by voice acclamation, I move approval of this resolution. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, thank you very much. And first, I'm going to call on President Patterson to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for allowing me to say just a few words about outgoing board member Skylar Walder. Certainly, we've saved the best for last. Members of the board and the state system have come to know Skylar as one of 3 student members of the Board of Governors, and perhaps that she was selected to serve on Governor Shapiro's newly formed Commission on Next Generation Statewide Engagement. However, you may not know that she had also excelled in her dedication to service at the campus level. Upon arriving at SHIP 3 years ago, I personally asked Skylar to serve as one of only a dozen founding members of what we call the Watchkeepers, or the President's Student Advisory Council. Her leadership is also exemplified by her participation in many other university organizations, such as Raiders Lead, focusing on career mentoring, One SHIP, focusing on campus-wide DEI efforts, and SHIP's Student Government Association, among many, many other organizations and student clubs. Skylar also served as a resident assistant, a peer anchor, and filled in as a student ambassador, welcoming to campus our prospective students, families, friends, and dignitaries. Skylar's proven leadership has afforded her a comprehensive understanding of the complexities and the nuances of a university administration from all perspectives. And Skylar will continue her pursuit of excellence as she pursues her MED in higher education administration at Clemson University, where no surprise, she has already holds the title as Clemson's Graduate Community Director. Congratulations, Skylar. SHIP and the Board of Governors, thank you for your service, and we are so pleased that you aspire to continue your leadership and your calling within the field of higher education. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And Skylar, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, everyone. Specifically, thank you, President Patterson, for the very kind words. I wish I could be there with all of you today in person, but as they say, duty calls, and I am in my first week of training at Clemson University. Luckily, Madam Chair gave me a warm-up to my farewell to the board back in April. However, I want to reiterate how honored I am to have had the ability to serve on this board for the last 2.5 years. I never thought I would get involved in the work that the board does, let alone look back on my tenure. But I have to say, I am grateful that I did. I must thank all of you for helping me grow and develop and for contributing to my experience at Shippensburg University. Though this chapter has come to a close, and yes, I did receive my diploma in the mail certifying my completion of my degree, I know this board and this system will continue to strive for the best for our students, staff, and faculty across the entire Commonwealth. Thank you.
All right, we are now going to move into committee sessions. And just as a reminder or new information for new board members, while only committee members are allowed to vote, all board members are encouraged to ask questions if you have them. And by getting those questions out and answered and the discussion going, then when we get to full board, we can move more efficiently through the action items. Okay, so let me start with Vice Chair and Governance Committee and Leadership Chair Sam Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To begin the Governance and Leadership Committee, I'd like to ask Toya to call the roll.
Yes, Committee Chair,
Yep, I'm here.
Governor David Mazer,
He's on Zoom.
thank you. Senator Schwank, or designee Teresa Hoffert. Cynthia Shapiro,
Here.
President Karen Riley.
Here.
This completes the roll.
Thank you, Toya. This morning, we have a couple of student trustee appointments. One is the appointment of a student trustee at the Council of Trustees, and one is an appointment of a student board member. So first, we'll address the student trustee appointment. Because students serve on our Council of Trustees, we can ensure the student's perspective is always considered when making decisions. And to make that happen, universities have a well-developed recruiting process to identify and vet potential candidates. The agenda, in the agenda packet is information regarding the student trustee candidates we will consider today. Janeda Ortiz from Commonwealth University Lock Haven has been nominated for appointment, and I will ask President Hannah to say a few words about this appointment.
Thank you, Governor Smith. Good morning. I'm honored to bring forward a recommendation from Commonwealth University's Council of Trustees for Janeda Ortiz. This young lady is a trailblazer in every sense of the word. In high school, she was an inaugural member of the Liberty High School girls wrestling team. And upon arrival at Lock Haven, became a member of the Bald Eagle women's wrestling program. Beyond her athletic accomplishments, she is a business administration major. She will be a sophomore this coming fall. Her involvement on campus during her freshman year has been absolutely nothing short of miraculous. She is a peer mentor for our TRIO Student Success Services program. She is on the Latino and Latina Student Association membership program. She's a student representative to the Commonwealth University Strategic Planning Committee. And she's also a Board of Governors scholarship recipient. So without further ado, we have zero hesitation in bringing her recommendation for you. Thank you, Governor Smith.
Thank you, President Hannah. May I have a motion that the committee recommends that the board appoints Janeda Ortiz to the Commonwealth University Council of Trustees? I think it's up to you, Cindy.
So moved.
Cindy moves and a second. That would be Mr. Mazer's job.
I was going to do that too. Second.
Well, I'm just not sure if he's actually
Can I
still
second your
here.
motion?
No, you can't do that.
He's on.
Then he moved to second.
Did.
Is there any other discussion? Anybody from the board not on the committee? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is adopted. And I believe, Randy, this candidate is was not available to be here to say hello. All right. Well, congratulations to Janeda. Our second action item is a student board member appointment. As you noted earlier, when we recognized Derek, Governor Harshberger has stepped down from the board to pursue a staff position with Penn West, where he's a graduate student. The good news is we really have an excellent pool of candidates, since we had just filled a seat in the coming out of the last meeting. So I did ask Randy to poll the committee members about this, that we weren't going to go do a full search, since we had just been in the middle of the search process. So we did arguably shortcut the process a little wee bit in some respects, but because we had just gone through it, it seemed prudent and there was no objections to that. So we're going to continue with that process. After reviewing the nominees and conducting interviews from that prior one, we would like to recommend Mark Handy Fanor from Kutztown University to be appointed, and I will ask President Hawkinson to say a few words about the candidate.
Thank you, Governor Smith. Mark Handy is an exceptional student at Kutztown University. Among his many activities, he's a member of the Honors College, has served as an engagement officer for our foundation, a junior council member for the Borough of West Reading, a student scholar with the Frederick Douglass Institute, and president of the Food Advisory Board. In addition, he has served as a presidential ambassador, where his professionalism, maturity, and calm confidence has shown him to be one of the finest representatives of KU's student body. He will easily be able to show the same attributes as a student member of the Board of Governors, and I strongly recommend him.
Thank you, President Hawkinson. May I have a motion that the committee recommends that the board appoints Mark Handy Fanor of Kutztown University as a member of the Board of Governors in accordance with the state system's enabling legislation as amended?
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And a second? And that would be Mr. Mazur's second again.
I heard that one too.
Any discussion? Any other comment or discussion from other board members? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. The motion is adopted.
And we do have Mark Handy on, so he's able to join us. So I'll turn it over to Mark Handy.
All right, everyone can hear me okay?
I'm clear.
Great. Well, as you know me, my name is Mark Handy. I'm a rising junior at Kutztown University of Pennsylvania. I'm a poli-sci major with dual minor in sociology and philosophy. And just getting the email that I was accepted into the Board of Members excited me because I'm so passionate about public service, especially in my local community in Kutztown University. So I would love to address issues such as like rising tuition costs, student mental health, diversity and inclusion, especially when that's taken a big impact in our nation as of recently, and also workforce preparedness. So that's something that I really want to get in touch with in terms of my employment while I'm with the Board of Governors. And thank you all for accepting my nomination. And thank you, Dr. Hawkinson, for also recommending me to the Board of Governors. It'll be great to work with everyone here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mark Handy. As the chair noted earlier, the full board will take up the ratification of these committee actions in a couple minutes. So I will turn the business back over to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mr. Committee Chair. We're now going to move to the University Success Committee. As Larry Skinner has just rotated off the board, I'm going to serve as interim chair of the committee until we finalize committee assignments this summer. So can we please begin, Toya, with a roll call of the University Success Committee?
Yes, Committee Chair Shapiro.
Here.
Governor Neil Weaver. Governor William Gindelsberger. Governor Shapiro's designee, Katie Merritt. Representative Brad Roy. Governor Ali Sina Sharifi.
Here.
And President Charles Patterson. That completes the roll.
Thank you very much. All right, so the first item on the agenda is related to changes in policy to allow for the tuition technology fee to be set at the local level, as are all other student fees. So to set up our discussion, let me welcome Ginger Coleman, Director of Financial Management, to her new role in supporting our committee. She's served the system for over 19 years and will bring a wealth of experience and expertise to the role. And along with Sharon Minnick, we'll walk through the policy changes as outlined in the board materials. And just a reminder, all board members are free to ask questions along the way. So Ginger and Sharon, may I turn it over to you?
Thank you very much.
Beginning on page 36 of your board materials, we have changes to 3 policies that are being recommended for board approval. First is policy 1999-02A, tuition. If this change is approved, 2 other policies also would need administrative updates for alignment. The tuition policy change would delegate the rate approving authority of the one remaining fee set by the board, the technology tuition fee, to the universities and their councils of trustees. Currently, all other fees are set at the university level to allow each university to address individual campus needs in the context of the overall price of attendance and student affordability. All these fees are published and clearly communicated to students by various methods, including the university's websites, and are collected at the system office for reporting and transparency, and are included in the accountability report published each year. The change also delineates that the rate structure will continue to be differentiated by in-state and out-of-state rates, as required in Act 188. If approved, this change would also require a change to policy 1989-05A, student fees, to align administratively and indicate that if no technology tuition fee is set at the university level, any change would mirror the rate of change of tuition as set by the board. In addition, an administrative change would also be required to policy 1983-18A, waiver of tuition and/or fees, as outlined in your materials. This concludes my remarks, and I will turn it back to the chair for discussion.
Thank you very much. All right, let's start with a motion. Is there a motion that the committee recommends the board approves the policy changes related to the technology tuition fee as shown in the board materials, effective for fall 2025? Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you very much. All right, any discussion? And again, anyone on the board can ask questions or initiate discussion. Yeah, Katie?
I just have one question. What if, or I guess, will this change in policy allow a university to incorporate the fees in a different way than it's currently accounted for as like a separate fee? Could a university make the decision to roll that into not tuition, but just overall costs in a different way? I think one of the pieces about the university does not set the fee, then it will increase in proportion with the overall tuition increase if applicable. I'm just curious, like if this flexibility will give universities the ability to be more like innovative with how they kind of do their fee structure.
Great question. Who wants to take that?
It'll still have a technology fee that would be set at the university level, that they would then take to their trustees. So wouldn't necessarily get bundled into something else that they're currently charging. They would have to have that separate. We also have a kind of outline what the fee would.
Any further questions or discussion?
No hands online.
Okay. Therefore, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any committee members opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. The second item is with regard to preliminary budget approval. So while certain elements of the budget can't be finalized until the fall, we take the step of preliminary review and approval of the budget by the board now in July. We established this last year, and what it does is create added visibility to university projections and aligns with our board fiduciary responsibilities. So let me now turn it over again to Ginger and Sharon to walk us through the action.
Thank you. The board approves the budgets in accordance with board policy.
I'm sorry, Sharon, is your
Yeah,
microphone on?
I just speak quietly.
No, I just want to make sure people on Zoom can hear you.
The board approves the university budgets in accordance with policy 1993-03A, budgetary reporting and review. As noted, this is the second year we're bringing these budgets to the board in July for earlier visibility. With this earlier timing, universities used assumptions around appropriation increases and tuition, which are contingent upon the Commonwealth finalizing its budget and further board actions. Enrollment is based on universities' best estimates as submitted in the spring, during which time they were also impacted by the FAFSA implementation issues. Therefore, again, these are preliminary 24-25 budgets. Universities will be finalizing these in early fall based on enrollment, final tuition, updated appropriations, and any other associated revenue and expense adjustments. And this information will be brought to the Board of Governors in the October meeting. For the preliminary budgets overall for the system, there is a deficit equivalent to 0.5% of the expenditure budget, driven primarily by 4 universities, which is not to be unexpected. That I'll conclude my remarks.
Hey, thank you very much. Again, board members are invited to ask questions or have discussion about the item. Are there any questions or any comments? All right, then let me ask. No? Okay. Let me ask for a motion that the committee recommends that the board approves the fiscal year 2024-25 preliminary annual operating budgets for the state system universities and Office of the Chancellor as reflected in attachment 1 of the board materials. May I have a motion? And a second? Okay. Once again, last chance. Any further discussion? Okay. Nothing on Zoom? All right. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the committee motion carries. Thank you. And now we have on the agenda approval of appropriation allocation. So once again, as we've done throughout this meeting and will continue to do, let me thank the governor and the General Assembly for their ongoing support of our efforts to seek the funding we need to support our students. State system has been incredibly appreciative of the opportunity that this funding has provided to support our students' needs and our system's financial sustainability while keeping our costs historically low. Now, the state budget is not quite done, so our committee cannot consider approval of the appropriations allocation. So we're going to table that for now and take it up on a special board call once the state budget is completely finalized and signed. So with that in mind, we are going to again table it for now. And I believe, Randy, that would conclude this committee's meeting agenda. Okay. All right. So now I take off my hat as interim committee chair of University Success. And I am once again chair of the Board of Governors.
Talk about transformation.
Wow.
And power. As we go into the next item on the board's agenda, which is approval of committee actions. Okay, we are going to take these committee actions together for a motion unless there's anybody on the board who wants to separate out any action. And again, a reminder, the 3 actions that we have are appointment of a student trustee and a student board member, policy changes related to the technology tuition fee and preliminary budget. Does anybody want to separate any of those items?
No hands in Zoom.
Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve today's committee actions?
So moved.
Second? Anybody can second that?
I'll second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
No hands in Zoom.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, That motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, policy updates. Next, we will hear from Sharon again about the new policy regarding undergraduate recruitment and financial aid.
Thank you. Over the past 5 years, the Board of Governors has worked to establish a policy environment that effectuates its fiduciary responsibilities. Last July, the board passed Resolution 2023-02, exercising the fiduciary responsibility of the Board of Governors for efficient, effective, and financially sustainable universities. As part of that resolution, the system was charged with continuing to define, provide training in, and require adoption of system operating standards in selected areas that are critical to a university's financial health, such as enrollment management, budget planning and reporting, or academic program or reg. As a result of that resolution, a team of university subject matter experts led by President Long at ESU, with members from Westchester, Penn West, Slippery Rock, Kutztown, Shippensburg, and Commonwealth and Millersville, met to build a framework and policy and procedure for universities around undergraduate recruitment and financial aid optimization. Policy in front of the board would require universities to conduct annual self-assessments across a variety of functions related to undergraduate marketing, admissions, financial aid, and research. Based on the results of these assessments, universities are to develop plans for continuous improvement. This policy, if approved, will be accompanied by a procedure that's currently under review by the universities. The intent of the procedure would be to align the self-assessment and continuous improvement plan with the comprehensive planning process, or CPP, submission. That I will turn it back.
Okay, thank you very much, Sharon. May I have a motion that the board approves policy 2024-01, undergraduate recruitment and financial aid optimization? Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
No hands in Zoom.
Okay, I think it's a great policy. Thank you. In that case, I'm going to call the question. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. The motion carries. And the next item on the agenda is with regard to tuition and still the tech fee. Once again, we thank the governor and the legislature for really very informed and thoughtful budget deliberations. Of course, we are intimately, concerned and very dependent, on the results of these discussions. I have to say, in terms of my own tenure on the board, these discussions, in terms of with the administration, with the legislature, become more and more sophisticated every year, and more understanding and appreciative of the fundamental and quintessential and incredibly necessary role that public higher education, may I say particularly our PASHE system, plays in the Commonwealth. And so I personally am so thankful for how these deliberations are going, and that considerations with regard to how we can reform public higher education in the state as well, to maximize the ability to look at higher education strategically, how it can align with workforce needs, how we can move toward even more affordability and more accessibility. And that's the direction that this governor and this legislature is taking. And in addition, just the investment in PASHE that has continued in recent years. It's enabled us to freeze tuition since 2018. And of course, we have indications that budget negotiations are going in such a way that we can continue this. Nothing is finalized, of course, but of course, the board knows that from the point of view of the chair and the chancellor will also speak. I will encourage to the extent possible that we be able to freeze tuition again. We'll sort of await the final with that, but that is the important message that we are sending out. We have a great desire to freeze tuition once again. So Dan, do you have any remarks to add to that?
Just to reiterate your thanks to the governor and the General Assembly for their hard work and their partnership over the years. Actually, to the elected representatives who serve on our board for their thoughtful work with us and their advocacy for the state system over all these years. I am hopeful, Madam Chair, and very much looking forward to not having to coming forward to the board next week or whenever Randy tells us we're getting together to recommending that we freeze tuition would be a seventh year. For our students, it's a great thing, and for our universities, a great thing. So, thank you.
Right. Okay, and then just to reiterate the technical point, we are not going to take action on tuition today because the budget is not finalized, but we will as soon as possible, hopefully in the next week. Okay, any questions or comments on that? All right, then I think our last order of business is board elections, and I'm going to hand the gavel to Bill Gindelsberger, who will moderate that portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is my pleasure to moderate this portion of the meeting so that we can conduct election of officers. As many of you know, our bylaws call for the annual election of officers at the third quarterly meeting of each calendar year, and that happens to be today. Term of office for the officers begins the moment that they are elected and continues until their successor is chosen and assumes office. The officers of the Board of Governors include a chairperson and 2 vice chairs. I have really been waiting patiently all morning for this opportunity. So to begin this process, I would make the motion that the Board of Governors elect the following members to serve as officers for the 2024-2025 year. Cindy Shapira as chair, David Mazer as vice chair, and Sam Smith as second vice chair. Are there any other nominations?
None on Zoom.
Hearing none, is there a second to my motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Cindy, David, and Sam, congratulations on your re-election.
Thank you. And thank you, Bill, for not using this as an opportunity to do a roast.
Well, that's coming now.
Disappointing as it was.
Never second vice chair. Sam, do you want to make any comments or remarks?
I think I said enough.
Mr. Mazer? On Zoom?
I second Sam's motion.
Okay, in that case, I third it. But thank you all very much for your confidence, and you know that we are committed to do our very best to ensure that this Board of Governors continues to do the very best for the system. All right, so I think that to close us out, for the record, I just want to report that the Board of Governors met in executive session yesterday from 2 to 5 p.m. to discuss personnel and legal matters. Before we adjourn, let me ask if there's any other business to come before the board.
Hands.
We're good? Okay. Then I hereby adjourn the meeting and